This is Triple M Breakfast. Rosie, Wil, Daisy. Bob Murphy is with us. How are you, Bob? How's Western Australia?
You know what? I'm well first, Rosie. How
Thank
are you?
you.
Nice to
Yeah,
see
good,
you and the gang. It's been tipping down with rain over here.
Oh.
And just a little bit of trivia for you. More annual rainfall in Perth than there is in Melbourne. So
Time to come back home.
Just tuck that in your back pocket.
Makes
Wil.
sense.
I can see you're just blown away by that little anecdote.
How do people in Western Australia go with the rain? Are they sometimes
don't cope.
No,
don't cope. So there's two seasons. There's winter, which is just wet for 3 months and everything shuts down. No one knows how to handle it. No social events. If you've got a birthday, you don't celebrate. Everyone goes into their cave. Nothing is catered for wet weather. And then the first day that it hits 30 and it's hot, we live on Mars over here. It's just, okay, well, there's the next 9 months. It's just hot. Hot.
So we were very fascinated by the idea of retirement season. Daisy introduced us to this idea on the show that there is a time of the year when it comes to the AFL where all the players start to retire and you have to have that transition into what's my life going to look like outside football? What am I going to do next? Turns out Daisy mostly wants to pat people on the bum and walk around in the showers in the nude. But for you...
Or just walk around nude, but the showers had to be part of it.
What was the hardest thing in the transition, Bob?
I don't know if they were the hardest things, but I'm glad Daisy did touch on a couple of those. That the patting people on the backside is certainly sort of an ailment of ours. It's institutionalised that we need to kind of sort of declutter ourselves in our life. The nudity thing, I've encountered that. Just at like physio appointments, I'll just take off too many clothes. And the physio's just like, whoa. I went in with a sore neck and why am I taking my pants off? There's really no need for that. And if you thought that was embarrassing, the one that sticks out for me was I went into the bank to make a withdrawal and the cashier said, you just need to sign that part. No didn't. Worries. And I did. I signed the name and then put number 2. The pen, the tip of the pen was still on the paper, and I was like, "Oh no, I've done that." And I looked up and made eye contact with the poor cashier, and she looked at me with like a sense of horror and just an embarrassment for me. She's like, where are you at, mate? I was like, that was a dreadful moment.
This is Triple M Breakfast. Rosie, Wil, Daisy. Bob Murphy joins us. Daisy Thomas.
Yeah, the West Australian has been a paper in the West Australian state for a long while, but they take nothing and enjoy nothing more than just canning their own football clubs. Adam Simpson, he finished up and they did the big loss, W all across the back page. Well, I saw a photo yesterday of the back page of the West Australian. And instead of celebrating the fact that Fremantle are 1 win away from playing finals, they're the hope of the whole state, they have gone with chokers.
Yeah.
And they've put pictures of their players, the big stars, Sarong, Fife, dressed up as the Joker.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it's chokers, not jokers. But why? Like, is the joint burning down? You've got one last chance. What's going on?
Oh, that's pretty standard over here, Dave. That was more one of the more timid attempts by the West Australian. I got to say, the two-team town thing, I was fascinated before I arrived here. Just what is that like? And it is a real thing. Like, I live in South Fremantle, and if Fremantle win, my neighbours as they walk past will stop for a lovely chat. And if we get rolled, they tend to just walk on by and give me the cold. It's like, okay.
Really?
Oh, we're not sort of chatting this week. Okay, cool. And the newspaper,
and your dog's
I think,
pooing on my lawn again.
Yeah, it's like, that's lovely. Oh, not picking it up. Cool. And I suppose I have the luxury a little bit because I'm not from here and my role at the footy club is not so public and high profile as the players. So, I wasn't one that was, I didn't have the joke of paint on me yesterday. And I do have the luxury of reading the paper and it makes me laugh. It's sort of cartoonish, literally, and sort of metaphorically, but I often don't read it. I'm not just saying that I don't read it, but I don't. But I did happen to be getting my lunch yesterday in between shifts at work, shifts. And and I was waiting
Down
at the
the Footy
counter.
factory.
You're on the grill in the morning and on the drive-through at night.
I'd clocked on. I'd come back out. It was a FIFO little shift, and I was buying a quinoa salad, of course, and
Completely on brand. Chicken schnitty would have had me worried. Quinoa salad.
there's a pomegranate in it. It was lovely. Anyway, and I saw the West Australian paper, and I was like, oh yeah. And then I flicked it over, and I saw, and I honestly did spit out a bit of smashed avocado. It kind of took my breath away. Of like, oh come on, guys. But yeah, it's different over here.
I was offended
different
by
sort of
it,
fishbowl.
Bob. You weren't offended. You were amused, but I was offended just by the wordplay because, Dale, I've looked at it a couple of times. They're clearly going for a Fremantle Dockers Joker style pun. Like it's meant to be Chokers Dockers.
Yeah, it doesn't
but
work.
Really it'd be the
Chockers.
the Fremantle Chockers, which feels like a different
They
proposition.
were caught between puns, weren't they? That's a
so
tough
close.
spot
They
to
were
be.
like, you know
Yeah,
what,
no,
we can
well,
thumb this one across the
Well,
line.
and Will, you are. I would like to talk about sort of nicknames and
Oh.
that sort of thing, monikers soon. But because you are, I would say, the guardian of puns in this country. Of you're a long tradition of using Will as a pun for your comedy show, your hugely successful comedy show. And I think you could be a bit of a curator for newspapers and their ability with the pun. Would you be up for that sort of responsibility?
Well, I think that is a brilliant observation.
That's my 2 bobs worth.
More-
Wink.
more with Bob
Winkety
Murphy.
wink wink.
After this break on Triple M. This is Triple M Breakfast. Rosie, Wil, Daisy. Bob Murphy is with us.
Yes.
And
Joining us from the Bobservatory deck.
I just bobs up every now and then.
Anyway, what is Murphy's Law of the Day?
I can't get. This is a heavyweight title fight that I'm not
Tapping
I'm
out?
Not, yeah, I'm tapping
You were
out
talking
there.
nicknames, though. What inspired you to talk about nicknames, Bob?
Well, I think the Raygun
yeah.
fiasco, and I know it's
Tread
it's probably
carefully.
Yeah, well, I know it's a little bit, perhaps a little bit tired, but I'm a nostalgia man, and Raygun.
But we're talking about Raygun nostalgically now.
Yeah,
Looking
sort
back,
of,
remember Raygun?
now that the dust has settled on Raygun Gate,
Yes.
I was sort of thinking around that of all the issues that Raygun drew out of the nation's psyche. I think one that we sort of bypassed even was her name Raygun and that the culture in breaking of you get to pick your name. Now, Daisy, our life in football, you don't get to pick your own nickname. John Longmire might have, but the rest of us didn't get to pick our own nickname. And I thought, well, I wouldn't mind sort of trying it out on you guys. If the 3 of you had have been breakers, what you might have been, yeah. So just see if you just imagine you're in the Australian tracksuit, John Howard style, and ready to compete.
Right, yeah.
And Daisy's got there you go. They got the kangaroo jump.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought Daisy, you could be Daisy Thunder. So it's a little.
Oh, Daisy
Oh,
Thunder.
Daisy
Yeah.
Daisy
Yeah.
Thunder.
You like
Yes.
that'll-
Okay.
that'll
yes.
Are
challenge
you
our youthful
Nicole
listeners.
or are you
Well,
Tom?
Probably more Nicole in this
I
situation.
mean, but also, battle style, you come into Thunderstruck by AC/DC.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this is the whole thing.
I like
Daisy
it.
DC.
Yeah,
AC Daisy.
I was thinking more like I've seen better days. Probably not the pump up we're after. We pay our respects to Pete Murray.
It's still with us.
It's
by the way.
okay. It's all right.
Oh no, sorry.
Oh gosh, Pete Murray just propped up
Dropping
his
a drive-by.
Wheatbix.
Somewhere in
Rosie,
Byron Bay right now, someone had a panic attack.
yeah, she was.
Quick, check on him. Yes.
Yeah,
Sorry, Bob.
I thought for you, Rosie, again, sort of a bit of a throwback, but ring a Rosie, hey?
Yeah, a tissue. Everyone falls down,
No,
and then
that
you
one
can
f-
spin
oh.
around.
Okay, Rosie
okay.
was into it. Will, you weren't feeling that, were you?
No. Isn't that a song about the plague?
Yes.
Mm,
That
okay.
was the bit that
I've killed
bothered
all
me.
my opposition.
Oh, okay. With wicked
Black
moves.
Death.
So,
Okay, she's warming into it.
that's,
Thanks, Bob.
Let's say you make your own nickname, and I think
Yeah,
I
that
can
was,
see it now, Bob. You were right. I was right.
yeah, that's right, yeah. Well, Will, I for you, there was so many. There was too many. I was overwhelmed with it. But I wanted to put to you, of all of your comedy posters, and there's been Willarious. Was there been Willpower? There's been Willosophy. Which one do you think? Which one do you think would have sort of best fit the Olympic spirit?
Well, this is the toughest one that I've never been able to use because there is, unfortunately, a very famous historical book that shares this, a movie that shares the same title. That is, anyway, Triumph of the Will.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the Bible. That is
Sorry, yes. Willie Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. No, Triumph of the Will, obviously. Old mate, Adolf, had this book, Triumph of the Will, but it's a great...
How is he?
Your mate. You can have him as your mate.
Your mate.
That's the pointy
Your
end
mate,
of
Adolf.
the pointy end of Australian slang there. Old mate Adolf.
Old mate Dolph,
Oh, golly gosh. But I must admit that this track it did send me down, and I want to come in. I want to give you guys something, and I don't know if you've settled on a name for your show. You probably have, but clearly there's a floral theme with you guys. But I couldn't help with on the big posters and the billboards around Melbourne, Daisy, Rose, and Wilt. Huh? Oh. Ironically, that wilted on.
Will's even seeing himself out, which is
he's-
usually what you should be doing.
He's turned away.
Turned the other cheek.
That was a heavy silence. That was
Not as easy as I make it look, is it, Bob?
That's why pencils have erasers. You know?
Triple M breakfast. This is Triple M's breakfast. Ring a Rosie.
Yeah.
What were you again?
I've seen better days.
And we won't go to Will because that was awkward. Bob Murphy is with us. And let's get to your now famed segment.
Oh, yes.
Definitely maybe.
Definitely maybe.
Definitely maybe. Yeah, and I wanted to put the back in Triple M. So I've sort of broken it into a specific...
Back in? Was it ever there?
I just tried to sneak that one through, but I wasn't brave enough to risk the silence.
Again.
So I've broken it into three categories now. You're all experts in your various categories.
Great.
So Ring a Rosie, you're first with the music. Definitely, maybe,
Yep.
AI will kill original music.
Oh, that's a good question, Bob. Well done.
Thank you.
Yes. Excellent.
No pressure.
Thanks, Will.
I'd like to think not, but I can see why people like Pete Murray are very nervous because of Daisy.
Rest in peace.
I don't like the idea that people have stolen, but it has happened in history. Like people will think of songs that they think is the greatest song of all time, but it happened to be somebody else's. I heard an interview with Keith Richards' daughter once. She said that there was a time when Keith went into the studio with Mick, as in from the Rolling Stones, and he came up with a riff. He goes, "That's the greatest riff I've ever done." And Mick had to turn to him and go, "That's Satisfaction."
Yeah.
So he even ripped himself off.
I mean, Keith did a lot of drugs.
My favourite bit there, Rosie, was Keith Richards went into the studio with Mick, and it was Mick Jagger, not Mick McGuan.
Just had to clarify. Mick Malloy.
That was a maybe. That was definitely a maybe.
Maybe Mick Malthouse, maybe. Anyway,
Yeah.
so Will,
maybe.
All right.
yeah, well done, Rosie. Will, you're our showbiz expert.
Okay, great.
Yeah, you're an old showbiz
Thank
tart.
you.
Definitely, maybe. Are the Logies hip again?
Oh. So, okay, I don't go to the Logies. Like, I don't like the Logies. I don't think there should be awards for arts. But, however...
Anderson slams Logies.
Not the first time.
Well, up until this
Angry
point...
Anderson slams ladies.
I think there's a trademark dispute. I cannot... The one emotion I am not allowed to be for legal reasons is
Batmobile
angry.
at Logies.
I can be amusing Anderson.
Disenchanted Anderson.
But I cannot...
Melancholy.
Anderson. No, not the same ring.
Speaking of your mate,
That's right. If I ever refer to myself as Angry Anderson, I suddenly get a phone call. Thank you. Thank you very
I had
much.
water in
Suddenly.
my mouth.
Thank
I couldn't
you. Thank you,
clap or
Rosie.
cheer.
I appreciate that.
Very good.
I'm going to say maybe. I think at the moment we're in a maybe zone in that there's definitely a possibility they're hip again. Sam Pang doing an incredible job hosting them. I think they've rejigged the system so it's a little bit more legitimate. This is a great era for Australian entertainment.
Quicker than usual.
It went 4.5 hours the other
People were,
night.
Usual.
people were dropping the Magic live on air. That always helps.
That's true.
Yeah, that's hip.
Celia Paquola dropped the Magic at 11:45 at night.
So
Yeah, maybe. A good solid maybe, though, with the potential to be a definitely.
Larry got a tat on his backside from it. That's pretty hip.
Yeah, that is true, actually.
Yeah.
That
Neither
is,
hip.
yeah. We would encourage that in the hipster community to have Larry as part of our brethren. Daisy Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one for you as well. Football. This is it's a little bit dry. I sort of ran out of steam here.
Three questions was too much. Well, we'll give you the next week off. We'll see you in a month.
Well, I told you I've been working shifts over here.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it's obviously
the
working well.
Yeah, with the intrigue around the final, I heard that too. That
That was a bit like your.
was quite a
Just move
spiteful little jab in there. The last round of the AFL season, should it be played all at the same time, 2 p.m. Saturday,
Oh.
with time zones taken into account? Although the Victorians don't care about that. for Western
Definitely.
Australia. Definitely.
Yeah, so the situation we're going to speak of this weekend is by the time your side comes up against Port Adelaide, that could effectively be a dead rubber.
Yeah. Oh.
So with games going on.
Brekkie
so
show, you
for-
guys are pretty.
For somebody who's meant to be
sort of a
across
vibe,
football,
isn't
it sounded like I just said that, and that's the first time you realised if other results don't go your way, your season's done.
I don't know why you used the phrase "dead rubber" with such relish. That was quite.
How good's relish, by the way? I got a completely other.
Definitely.
And
Definitely.
you are coming back to Victoria, and it might be the Bulldogs that you would be knocking out of the finals at this point. Like, surely as your last
here
act
we
over
go.
West, you could
Yeah, okay.
lay down
yeah.
flat.
So
for your old
definitely
club that
maybe
gave you
if
so much.
if Freo knock out the Western Bulldogs, you won't be welcome back in Victoria.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. It could be a bit frosty between Angry Anderson and I next week.
Again, I cannot stretch this enough. I will get a phone call if I'm referred to as Angry Anderson.
Oh dear. Yeah. So, how are you feeling about the last round of the year? Will, are you a bit nervous? How are you feeling about the Dogs? Do you
I'm
think they
nervous.
can do it?
I
You're nervous?
think this is.
Or is that just permanently?
I'm permanently nervous, Bob. You know this. Yeah. I was not nervous for about 15 minutes between when Tom Ball kicked that goal and you getting your medal. And then after that, I went back to being nervous again.
15 minutes of utopian bliss and the rest just torment.
Just sounds like a
Tormented.
rebrand to me. Nervous Anderson.
He's pivoted. He has.
Anxious
he's pivoted.
Anderson.
And as a result, angrier Anderson. He's even more
Angrier.
furious.
Thank you, Bob Murphy.
Bob.
We'll see you
Thanks,
next
team.
week.